The book of Revelations is kooky. You know, they really believe that Jesus is going to return on a horse.
Why a horse?
A white horse.
It's a bit racist.
A little bit.
In this clip, Joe Rogan mocks the second coming of Jesus. He literally opens up the Bible, reads scripture, and mocks Jesus' return. I think it's worth talking about.
Come on, Joe. I thought you were coming to our side.
He was close. He was close.
He's still on a journey, but okay, let's check this out.
What this is an ideology. It's an ideology which believes that our civilization, our way of life, is evil, but also they want to establish their form of radical Islam across the globe. They want to create a global Islamic caliphate, and they will do whatever it takes in order to achieve that goal. But people in the West, they can't understand that because it's so alien for how we see things. We believe human life is precious. We believe the most important thing is human life. They don't. They believe the cause is more important than your life. And we can't understand that because we're raised in a world that is fundamentally Christian, even though we might not be. We still have Christian values. We had a guest on the show, a wonderful historian called Tom Holland, and he explained this to us, that even if you're not Christian, even if you think you were raised by atheist parents, you were still raised with Christian values. That's the soup in which we live. That's what the water in which we swim. So this way of life that these people have, this ideology, is so alien to us that we can't understand it. But also we don't want to understand it, because if you start to actually investigate what these people believe, what their ideology is, you realize that we are not all the same, and these people believe something very, very different. And then we're going to have a very uncomfortable conversation of how do you tackle this? Because can you have Western liberal democratic values and Islamism and people who are Islamists in the same society? And the answer is you can't.
And I think it's really important, your point, the difference between Islamists and Muslims.
Yes.
The Muslims are these Gulf state people. Muslims are these people in Dubai and Saudi Arabia. Islamists are the ones that want the caliphate.
We want more real radical Christians, and we want more nominal Muslims. That's what's kind of being conflated here, because actually following the way of Jesus will lead to good outcomes, and following Islam, especially in that literalistic sense that they're talking about Islamist, where you actually believe in violent jihad and you actually are trying to follow the life pattern of Muhammad, that's going to lead to violence, and that's going to lead to sexual abuse. That's going to lead to all kinds of atrocities. And so I just want to make sure that there's not like a false equivalency here, as if Islam and Christianity, if followed seriously and taken seriously, would lead to the same type of outcomes. They would lead to 180-degree opposite outcomes.
Yeah.
Right.
But then you have the crazy Christians. And that thing that I sent you, the Yahoo thing that we talked about yesterday with Schellenberger, the Yahoo thing is nuts. So these military leaders, so this comes from one of the non-commissioned officers who went to a briefing. This is an officer who's talking about this. This morning, our commander opened up the combat readiness status briefing by urging us to not be afraid as to what was happening with our combat operations in Iran. He said President Trump has been anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. He said he had a big grin on his face when he said all this, which made his message seem even more crazy.
Well, that's reassuring.
This is the scary arm of the right. This is the scariest arm of the right. The people that think that this is one of the main reasons, the Mike Huckabee people, I think this is the main reason to protect Israel. It's a part of God's plan. You know, Israel's where Jesus is going to return. He's going to return to Jerusalem. Yikes.
Yeah, I've never really understood that. Like, I think you can be pro-Israel for pragmatic reasons. This religious stuff is a little bit weird to me.
But the problem is you've got fanatics,
right,
like the Islamists, but you've also got these Christian hard right Christian nationalists that really believe that this is a part of biblical prophecy and that this is Book of Revelations, it's about to go down, and they want it to go down. This is terrifying.
This is really interesting for us because in the UK, Christianity has been defanged to the point where there's a trans flag on practically every church. So this idea of having these hardcore right-wing fundamentalist Christians, we just don't experience that.
Yeah, we don't have that really.
Yeah, it's like, can't everybody live in the middle?
So I think saying this in the sense of like radical is bad and like pluralistic or nominal is good is really a mistake. We want, again, more real radical Christians, and we want more nominal Muslims. So what it seems Joe's actually thinking of here are people who have ideas politically, who are then using Christianity or using Jesus as a prop or a scapegoat in order to accomplish their political agenda.
Why do you have to go all the way over to, we got to start Armageddon? And Jesus is going to come back on a white horse. You ever read the book of Revelations? Yeah, I got really into it. The book of Revelations is kooky. You know, they really believe that Jesus is going to return on a horse.
Why a horse?
A white horse.
That's a bit racist.
A little bit. I mean, I don't get... I don't...
Can we have a diverse horse at least for Armageddon?
Why not a horse of color, Joe?
You want me to read you the passage? Because I saved it, because it's kind of kooky. Because it's one of those things where you just go, wait, well who fucking believes this? Is this really what you think is going to go down because someone wrote it down on paper 2,000 years ago in ancient Hebrew? It says, heaven opens and Christ appears on a white horse to judge and wage war, called faithful and true, with eyes like fire, many crowns, and the name King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Just imagine it's 2026 and you're like, that's the blueprint, boys. But this is just as scary, and especially for people that are Muslims, right?
Yeah.
Or anybody who lives in the Middle East. Like this is more important than human life. This is more important than international law. This is like, in the eyes of the crazy on the right, this is the problem. So it's like it's not like one side. It's like all good over here. We have to fight against the Islamists. No, we've got some kooks over here too. If that guy's for real and that guy's in a position of power and he's really having combat readiness meetings where he's telling people that we have to bomb and start Armageddon so Jesus can come back on a white horse, like that's kooky.
The thing that is probably reassuring somewhat is President Trump doesn't strike me as one of those people.
He's
right?
not.
He's not, right? Whereas the leader of Iran is.
Right, but people in the military, I think, are as well.
Yeah.
And people in high positions in the military, I think, maybe as well.
Yeah.
If this guy can give that kind of a meeting and that kind of a speech at a meeting, that's a little terrifying. And if I was over there, I'd be freaking the out. If I'd be like, this is your plan? I'm cannon fodder so that Jesus can come back? My body's going to be a part of the signal fire?
Let's be honest, though. It wouldn't be that much of a plot twist for 2026, would it?
Yeah.
Right. It would be the final, episode 10, Game of Thrones, season 6. Yes. I mean, it is getting fucking wild. And that's when the aliens come. Maybe that's what they're doing. The whole thing is, there's not a sane person on either side. The whole thing is nuts.
I've never met someone that's like, let's do bad things in order to bring back the return of Christ.
Yeah, it's kind of narcissistic to think that I have the authority or power to do anything to usher in the return of Jesus. It's more of the way he's talking about Jesus's return. Like I guess there's two different things he's arguing out, and I don't want to get into the political side of it, but he's kind of mocking the idea of the people who believe in Jesus's physical return. I mean, those people are crazy. They're crazy to believe this. I've saved the passage because it's so kooky, and I almost just want to point out that even around the first coming of the Messiah, there was so much disbelief, and there's really like no one ready for the first coming of the Messiah. Even though you could make the argument in Daniel and other passages, like around the season the Messiah might be born, you have Simeon, you have Anna. There seems to be like a small remnant of people expectant for the coming of the Messiah. And I would say in a similar way, like when Jesus ascended into heaven in Acts 1, you read about him ascending into heaven, and you read the angels say to the disciples, the same way he left, he's coming back. And so there is this affirmation. Just like I obviously clearly believe, according to Scripture, it teaches Jesus will physically come again.
And
right.
It will be on the Mount of Olives, according to Scripture.
Zechariah 14.
Yeah.
And that's where he left, right? So in Acts 1, they're on the Mount of Olives. He ascends into heaven. And I guess the idea is this, like, I almost want to be honest, like when you hear those words, you go, really? You really believe that? And I go, well, yeah, of course I believe that. Because, I mean, this guy who conquered sin, hell, and death, he left the grave empty. Like, it's not hard for me to believe in his coming again. Like, he left in miraculous way. He'll come back in a miraculous way. I'm one of those people that believes in the physical return of Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess it just seems like that maybe because the way that they got into that conversation was through someone who was, again, almost like using that belief as a I don't even know, like a Trojan horse in order to do like military conquest in the Middle East or something, where it's like, well, that sounds really bad and nefarious. And like the excuse for that is the belief in the return of Jesus. Therefore, the return of Jesus is in and of itself a silly, foolish, or just bad belief. It seems like maybe the framing of it made Joe like, whoa, this is dangerous. Yes. And that's why I said initially, like, I've never heard or met anybody who's like, let's bring about destruction, like bring about Armageddon based on our belief in the return of Jesus. But apparently there's at least one person who does think that way from what they were just reading. But more so, I would just say, to bring in another point here, that it's funny that at the end of this, he goes, and then that's when the aliens come. And it's like, you kind of believe that. Yeah, I know. But that's not silly.
So it's ridiculous to believe in the literal return of Jesus, but it's not ridiculous to believe the aliens will come?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So like, which is like, we have, I don't know, like we have more evidence for Jesus than the aliens.
Yeah.
And like predicted prophecies under our belt and so on and so forth.
Dude, that's such a good point.
And 2,000 years worth of testimonial evidence of people saying he really is alive and he really did change my life and he really is alive. And in fact, his name actually ended the abduction experience for me, and so on and so forth. Like thousands and millions of people testifying to the reality of the power of Jesus's name and the continued existence of the person of Jesus throughout the last 2,000 years. And so we're saying, with all of that background information, it's a lot more logical to say, well, maybe we just kind of continue the story forward and he actually returns. Yeah. According to the scriptures, versus, to say, well, that's crazy. That's so crazy. But the second coming of the Anunnaki is perfectly logical.
The people who are inclined to believe in the aliens are coming are not inclined to believe in the coming of Jesus. And like, why is that? Why are people more inclined to think that there are beings in the universe, but not that being, not Jesus? There are these extraterrestrial things out there. They're going to make themselves known. They're going to reveal themselves to us. And there is like this expectancy around that. But when it comes to Jesus' return, we're kooky. We're the crazy ones for believing that this man who fulfilled all these prophecies around his first coming will fulfill the rest of the prophecies around his second coming. Yeah. But I can see why people get frustrated with Christians, where if there really are Christians who are going, we need to do these things to usher in the coming of Jesus, that is dangerous. That's untrue. It's narcissistic. To me to go, you and your actions have the authority, like that God's going, oh, now that so-and-so did this, now Jesus can come again. That's I don't know. The fact that there could be people, I mean, maybe there is, but I also feel like that's a straw man. I don't feel like that's a really fair representation of what Christians believe. Like, I do believe Jesus is coming back. I want him to come back. I long for him. Like, Maranatha, even so, Lord, come quickly.
We want to see every tear wiped away and the tree of life flourishing for humanity, whose branches are healing for the nations. We want to see all nations gathered around saying, worthy is the lamb who was slain. That's what when I think of Revelation, the book of Revelation, when I long for, I'm like, oh, it's got to get bad before it gets better. But I want it to get better. I feel something in my spirit that's just like, come quickly, Lord, which is the call that says the Spirit and the bride said, come quickly, Lord. And I feel that, come quickly, Lord, in order to bring justice, in order to bring righteousness, in order to bring heaven to earth and make all things new and make all things better and make all bad things go away. That's like I think the true Christian longing for revelation, not invade Iran because of like whatever. Yeah. One other thing I should probably tell people about is the in-house podcast, which I'll put in the description. Basically just to say, if people are enjoying this type of commentary at all, they can hear more of this type of dialogue there. It's longer form, full length podcast where we talk about in-house issues, Bible, theology, church, spiritual formation, stuff like that. Yeah. And we actually are going to record today, if I get it correctly. What's the title of today's episode?
7 stages of lament.
The 7 stages of lament, kind of playing off like the 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
But using Psalm 42 to unpack like the 7 stages of lament.
Yeah. So, just deal with spiritual depression.
Shout out to the in-house podcast.
Yeah.